Hi everyone, yes hello, me again, Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo here, and I would like to talk about Jude Bellingham. Now, as you will no doubt have seen, he's had quite a good start to life at Real Madrid. He's played 4 games for them, he's scored 5 goals, and that, by any stretch, is really good. But you know what it's like. A young English player has a run of good performances or a couple of good games, and we start just loading the expectation and ramping up the hype. So you got to be really careful with how you choose your words. So I'm going to put this very gently. I think he might be the best player in the world right now. The best player in the world. You can't go around saying things like that. I don't know, that's a ridiculous claim to make. And you're not wrong. You're absolutely correct in saying that. But also, just looking at it, he is. So, as I said right at the start, 5 goals in 4 games for Real Madrid. That is one hell of a start. He got 8 goals in 41 Bundesliga appearances last season. So that is quite the uplift. Were he to continue on the rate he's currently scoring at, he would finish on about 47 goals this season, which is a lot. Now, I don't think he's going to finish the season on 47 league goals, although at this point, I wouldn't entirely rule it out, but clearly something is going on between his transfer from Dortmund to Madrid. Something is happening with the way he's playing football, which is making him far more dangerous in the opposition box. And not just the most surface level way of looking at this, this is how Real Madrid have been setting up with Bellingham in the side this season. He has been the very tip of the diamond, playing in this number 10 role with a midfield 3, not even including Modric and Kroos most of the time, in behind him. Now, just this in of itself is incredibly interesting because it's completely different to how he was used at Dortmund. Now, Dortmund are quite tactically flexible. You would quite often see him on the left of a midfield 3, the same kind of position you see him for England, but a lot of the time, what they would do, can my brain figure all this out? Yes, it can, is you would be deployed as the right-hand side in a double pivot of a 4-2-3-1. Now just think about that for a second. Like, how many examples in the history of football can you think of where a top team has gone and paid top money for a player who has predominantly played in a deep midfield role and then not only stuck them immediately in at number 10, but just sort of said, go on, if you want to be the 9 as well, just feel free. But the thing is, there was a very good reason for Dortmund using him in this position. That's because, if you just look at it, he's right in the very center of the pitch. That is, of all the positions in this lineup, the one who's going to see the ball the most. It's a position which allowed him to do all the things he's really good at doing. He can get involved in Dortmund's build-up phase when they're working it around the back. He can act as a screen in front of the back 4. He can get on it. He can drive it further up the pitch. And as play develops and situations allow, he can get into this front line and sort of play as a 10 as well. Now, you'll have heard this a million times by now. The whole reason he had the number 22 when he was coming through at Birmingham, because one of his coaches was like, oh wow, you're a great defensive midfielder and central midfielder and attacking midfielder. So like a 4, an 8 and a 10. We'll add all those up, but it's kind of a good gag, but also it was completely true. And so Dortmund stuck him in a position where every single game he was able to contribute to the play here, to the play here, and to the play here, and doing all these jobs combined, he would still post 8 or 9 out of 10 every single week for all these different jobs. But you see, here's the thing, right? You've probably got a job, and if you don't now, you definitely remember having one. I'm willing to bet you had to do way more in that job than you were actually supposed to. Maybe you were hired to do like one thing, but just the way the place worked, you ended up having to do 2 or 3 others sometimes as well. And maybe you, like Bellingham, would give 8 or 9 out of 10 in all these different roles every single day you were there. But in the back of your mind, you were probably thinking, if I just focused on the thing I was hired for, the thing I'm really good at, I wouldn't be given 8 or 9 out of 10s everywhere. I could give you a 10 consistently at that one thing. And that is, in essence, what Real Madrid have done with Bellingham. Like, they've looked at him and thought, yeah, sure, you can contribute in every single area of the pitch, but this is Real Madrid. Every other player who's here is here because they are great in that position. So let's just give you a job and you can do that instead. And so, with the way they have set this team up with the midfield diamond, the job they have given Jude Bellingham to do is simply kill teams. Bellingham is the 10 in a diamond, sure, but it's also completely accurate to look at this as a 4-3-3 with Bellingham right at the top, playing as a false nine and dropping back into the space. Like, if we look at the goals he's already scored for Madrid, these are not the opportunities or the chances or even the finishes you would expect of a player playing as a midfielder with license to get into the box. They are out and out centre-forward goals. His link-up play around the box and how he works with the other forwards is exemplary, yes, but he's not holding that position. When he sees the kind of gap a centre-forward should be filling, he is just filling it. And it has led, in the few short months since he's left Dortmund, to creating an entirely different player. It's a small sample size, but let me just show you a few select stats from last season's Bundesliga and this season's La Liga, and you'll see just how drastic this is. So, per 90 minutes last season in the league, Jude Bellingham was posting 3.7 tackles or interceptions per game. And this put him comfortably in the top 10%, possibly even the top 5% of midfielders in Europe in that particular stat. He was winning the ball back a lot because that was a major part of his role. He was carrying the ball on average about 264 yards every single game, which again puts him right in the very top percentage of that bracket across Europe, because his job was, when he got on the ball in deep areas, to then help the team move it forward, usually using his dribbling skills. Last season, he was making about 1.5 passes into the penalty area every single game, again because he was allowed and encouraged to be in that part of the pitch, but it wasn't his main responsibility. And finally, the average distance of all the shots he took in the league was 18 yards from goal. So yes, he would get it in the box, and yes, he would shoot from range, but on average, pretty much every chance he was trying to take came from outside or just on the edge of the penalty area. So you can visualize this kind of player in your head, can't you? He's an all-rounder. He's good at winning the ball back, so he does that a lot. He's really good on the ball, so he carries the ball up the pitch a lot, and he's good in the final third as well, so he passes the ball into the box, and occasionally he'll have a pop from distance. He does a little bit of everything. Now, while it is a small sample size, I'll grant you, let's just compare those numbers to this season so far. Per 90, Jude Bellingham is making about 1.2 tackles or interceptions per game. He is carrying the ball on average 117 yards. He's making 3.2 passes into the penalty area per 90. And finally, the average distance of his shots is just under 10 yards. And then obviously just add on top of that, he scored 5 goals in 4 games. That is a profile of a player who can win the ball back, sure, but he doesn't worry about it, and he can carry the ball up the pitch, sure, but he doesn't worry about it. What he does worry about is how he can f*** you up. And this is a grotesque oversimplification, but if you just look at the formation, you can see exactly what it is Real Madrid are trying to do. They have locked this area down, they have taken care of all the jobs here, and they have even split the two attacking players. They have put Jude Bellingham in the most important area of the pitch when it comes to creating chances and scoring goals, and just said, go where you want, do what you want. And the results, as you've seen, have been incredible. But the thing is, my dear friends, none of that makes him the best player in the world. He's just having a really good attacking run, and loads of other number 10s will do similar things, post similar numbers, have similar highlight reels across the course of the season. So why then is Bellingham so different? It's because it isn't actually accurate to say they've given him a free role as a number 10. Like they have. He pushes forward into the box, he drops wide, he drops into the midfield. He has complete freedom to do what he wants to do in that role, but he's actually got complete freedom to just do what he wants to do, full stop. Bellingham isn't making as many tackles or interceptions per game, but the ones he is making are absolutely vital. And likewise, he isn't getting on the ball in deep areas and driving it up the pitch as much as he was, but when he is doing it, it's because the game sort of demands he does it. Real Madrid are struggling to play through or go around, so he just takes himself out of this position and goes where he needs to go. At Real Madrid, his number one job is to look for goal-scoring opportunities either for himself or for his teammates, but he also has the license to simply read the entire game state and decide where he needs to be to have the biggest possible impact. And just that, staggering range of ability, that power to exert your influence across a game, regardless of what state it's currently in, whether you're attacking or defending, whether you're under pressure or on top, to just look across the entire pitch and think, where can I make the maximum possible impact here? And then be in a system designed to allow you to do that. That legitimately puts you in the conversation for best player in the world right now. And even if you haven't watched Real Madrid, there was a really good example of this in the England game. England kind of want to be a 4-3-3, but he was definitely playing more as a 10, albeit in a totally different system, but he gets on the ball wide left because that's where he felt he needed to impact the game. The center of the pitch was really congested, there wasn't too much he could do over there, so he recognized the space developing and he went out to try and make something happen. But as soon as he does make that thing happen and he lays the ball off to Phil Foden, he then reassesses the situation and realizes that some space has developed right in the most dangerous area of the pitch. So rather than doing what a number 10 would do in that situation, which is either keep your position out wide in case the ball gets recycled or move to the edge of the box to kind of get yourself set in case the ball gets turned over, he just recognizes it and he goes into the center forward area of the pitch, the ball breaks loose, and he scores. And that's the thing about most of the goals he scored this season. Like, none of them represent, like, technical brilliance or particularly mind-blowing to watch, but they do represent the sort of striker's instinct you would expect a 30-year-old, 200-goal forward to have. And he's a 20-year-old who last season was playing in a double pivot. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because I could genuinely spend about half an hour just talking about the handful of games he's played this season. He is easily the most fascinating, interesting, exciting, must-watch player in world football right now. And he's English, so that's nice. As ever though, please do head down to the comments and let us know your thoughts on his opening few performances for Real Madrid, as well as the 2 England games, because one was great and one wasn't, so there's a whole other thing to be said there. And while you are here, please do subscribe to FourFourTwo on YouTube. We are so close to 442 subscribers, and me, a nerd, really wants that. Meantime though, grab me on Instagram, Threads, X at Adam Cleary, CLERY, 442 socials in the corner. We are on the last week of the beautiful Newcastle United issue. Please do buy that from all good retailers and the crap ones as well. And until next time, I've been Adam Cleary, that's been Jude Bellingham, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.